I'm sorry. I just, sorry. I just read a text message. Oh my god, hi besties. It's Yugul, and today I thought I would do a little updated makeup tutorial because I haven't done one in a very long time and my makeup is very different now. But I also thought that while I was doing that, I could tell you about my spooky paranormal experiences. First, I'm going to put on this really cute headband I got from TJ Maxx. It's so adorable. It's so cute. It's a little bat. Oh, it's actually pretty stretchy, so it actually might go over my giant head. Ugh, it felt like being born. Okay, so let's get into the makeup. So for concealer, I use the e.l.f. 16-hour camo concealer in the shade Fair Rose. I love this concealer. It's so good. So I've had a lot of paranormal experiences in my life. I've kind of always been able to like pick up on energy and like I've seen things and heard things my whole life. So the earliest paranormal experience I've had was when I was really little, maybe about 3 or 4 years old, and my mom told me about it. And my grandmother passed away when I was 3, and she was this amazing woman and was very involved in my life. My mom and I lived with my grandparents until after my grandmother died. So we were all in the car one day, and my mom said that from the back seat, we called my grandmother Mama Donna, because Donna was her name, and we called my grandfather Daddy Reed because Reed was his name. So from the back seat, I said, Mama Donna's voice sounds funny. And apparently I just kept saying that her voice sounded funny. So that was the earliest paranormal experience I've had. But my mom always brings that one up because they say that when you hear someone from the other side speaking to you, it can sound like their voice is coming through a tube, or it sounds like echoey or like wind chimes. So I just kept saying that her voice sounded funny. And so even though I don't remember that one, that's kind of the first one that my mom always points to when we talk about my paranormal experiences. And then from, I guess, sort of that point on, so I didn't think about having to multitask and talk about 2 things at once. It's gonna probably be kind of difficult for my little ADHD brain. So for foundation, I use the Revlon Color Stay 24-hour foundation in the shade 130. That's all it says on the bottle, so 130. Moving on to the paranormal experiences that I can actually remember. I've always seen shadow people ever since I was really, really young. And it just kind of became like a pretty normal thing for them to just kind of pop in. Like, it happened in my home, the home I live in now, a lot. And because I've lived in this house, this was my grandparents' house. So since I was 3 years old, I've lived in this house. So I've seen a lot of weird things in this house. But then at friends' houses and other people's houses too, seeing shadow people was a fairly common occurrence for me. And it was normally accompanied by like a feeling. I could sort of feel the intentions of this thing. I could tell if it was malevolent or if it was just somebody just kind of popping in. One that I remember very distinctly, I was maybe about 12 years old, And it was kind of the first time that my mom left me in the house by myself for like more than just a couple of hours, because she had some shopping to do, and my mom is an only parent of a female only child, so she didn't leave me alone very much. But I distinctly remember I was sitting on the couch in our living room watching TV, just sort of waiting for her to come home, and it was at night. And the way our house is set up, from the living room couch, you can kind of see into the kitchen. Like you can see the stove and like part of the sink. And I saw somebody, like a full figure, but for shadow people, for me, it's just a shadow. Like no distinguishable features or anything. But I could see a person walk by the sort of window that you can see into the kitchen. And I remember looking and then just going back to watching TV, and a few minutes later I was like, wait, why did that not scare the shit out of me? That should have terrified me. But it didn't. I was not afraid. This thing obviously didn't intend to hurt me or anything. And when I told my mom about it, she was like, that was Mama Donna. Because my family is very spiritual, and I've had lots of experiences, like my whole family. And Mama Donna likes to pop in every now and again. And my family thinks that she sends cardinals and that she can like turn lights on and off and stuff, because that's always kind of been a big thing. So we think that that was Mama Donna keeping an eye on me while my mom was not at home. For blush, I'm going in with the Cream Shop Hello Kitty blush. Don't look at it because it's kind of gross, because I use this gross brush on it. The shade Strawberry Milk. I love this blush. I love this blush so much. It's my favorite. But yeah, so that was like an example of a shadow person that I saw that didn't really mean me any harm or anything. I think that it was my grandmother just kind of keeping an eye on me while I was home by myself, because she was always very like protective of me. I'm gonna go in with the Huda Cherry Blossom Powder to set my under eyes. And because I have 29-year-old skin, you want to make sure that like your concealer and stuff isn't creasing, and then you want to look as straightforward as possible and just sort of press, and it's gonna hide all of your 29-year-old lady bits. But I've definitely seen and felt some shadow people that had less than good intentions. And because I was always sort of predisposed to seeing spooky things, I did the dumb thing that I feel like a lot of people in that situation do, and I started fucking with Ouija boards. Now, don't yell at me about that in the comments. I know that that's really bad, and that that's not really something that you should mess with. Me and one of my best friends, who is also very like spookily inclined and very in tune with the supernatural, she and I especially would do Ouija sessions pretty regularly. I have actually a really nice Ouija board that I still have. It is cleansed. There's no energy attached to it. It's just in my home. And I know how to store all that stuff so that, you know, it keeps my home safe. That was a rule of mine, was that I never do Ouija sessions or anything like that in my home or in friends' homes, except for we had a couple of friends that were like skeptics, and they were like, I don't care if you do it in our home because I don't believe in it. And I personally believe that if you don't give something power, like if you don't believe in it, then it can't hurt you. So there was never really an issue with that. But she and I would mess with Ouija boards pretty often. Sorry, real quick, I'm going in with the Flower Nose Swan Ballet blush in the shade Romanticism. It's this really pretty, like, kind of like taupey pink that I just kind of use to set and blend out the cream blush. But so she and I would do Ouija sessions pretty often. I have this cloth Ouija board that is very easy to just like fold up and take places. So we would do that quite a bit. And my boyfriend at the time was living with his mom, and we would go stay over there. I would go stay over there a lot. And we had a few friends over one night, and we were doing a Ouija session. And this house was, I mean, it was a really nice house. It was very pretty, but the closet in his mom's room always really gave me a bad vibe. And so we were like, let's see if we can figure out what's in this closet. And so we're doing this Ouija session. I think there were about 6 of us that were all doing this session. Like, the answers start coming pretty fast, which if you've ever done a Ouija board, you know that like sometimes it happens super fast and other times it can take forever to get an answer because some spirits just aren't I guess maybe strong enough to communicate in that way, or are maybe scared to, I don't know. But the answers are coming really fast, which can be a bit of a red flag. So, and this was dumb. Don't do this. Like, don't do this. I personally, like, don't really mess with Ouija boards at all, especially if you don't know what you're doing. But do not, under any circumstances, ever do what I'm about to say that we did. We just point blank asked if it wanted to hurt us, which is a huge no-no. Don't do that. And it said yes. And so at that point, we were like, this is over. Like, we're not doing this anymore. So we said goodbye and like put the thing up and everything. And I can't remember like everything that had been said during the session because I think my brain kind of like trauma like blocked it out because it was so scary. It said that it wanted to hurt us. And so we ended the session, and my friend and I, because we were kind of the ones leading the session, we like knew the most about it. Like, none of our other friends were really, they were just kind of doing it for fun to like see if anything happened, but we were kind of the main ones. And so everybody's kind of talking and they're like, oh, that was so weird. And I look over at her and I'm like, how do you feel right now? And she was like, I feel like I've been hit by a bus. And I was like, me too. It was just so draining. Like, whatever we were talking to was just like sucking our energy. So we both like went to bed with like crystals that night, like to like we did like a whole little protection spell. But that night I literally, so my boyfriend at the time, his bed was like pushed up against one of the walls, and I slept on the side with the wall, and I slept the whole night with the covers over my head because I knew that if I opened my eyes, I would see a man standing over me. I knew that I would. And I don't know why. I don't know if that's who we were talking to, but I just felt the presence of a very tall man in a top hat standing over and looking at me. I felt him there. Like, and it wasn't just me freaking myself out. Like, I knew that if I opened my eyes, he was gonna be there. So I spent the whole night with my covers over my head. This is so weird to like go back and forth between telling these scary stories where I'm legitimately like freaking myself out and being like, I can't really stand like this. But for concealer, or for contour, for my nose contour, I go in with this Glam little stick in the shade Buff. And I only use the contour side. I don't really ever use the highlight side. And then for my highlight, for my nose, I'm using, and I broke it, so it looks really sad, but I'm using the Lunar Glow Glam highlight. I cannot find the shade name, but it's the white one. And then for my highlight on my cheeks, I go in with the same Lunar Glow, but in the pink shade. The next day, we decided to do another session to try to figure out what we were talking to, but we did this just the two of us because we were like, I mean, for one thing, everybody else had gone home, but we were like, we don't, because they don't really know as much about this sort of thing as we do, we didn't want to like put them in a situation where they could be in danger. So we decided, just the two of us, to do another session, and the answers start coming immediately again. And so we ask, is this who we were talking to last night? And it says no. And we ask for this entity's name, and it says Venus, which we both thought was very interesting, especially because my sort of like main goddess I look to is Aphrodite, who is the Greek version of Venus. So we're like, okay, slay, Venus, is there anything you want to tell us? Is there a message that you want us to take away from this session? And she said, stop what you are doing. And we both kind of like looked at each other, and we were like, bet, okay. And that was kind of the last time either of us really touched one, at least that I can remember, because we, like, it was just so clear. It was like, what you're doing is going to be bad. And we were like, okay, well, that's all we needed to know. For my eyebrows, which I did go ahead and like shave little skinny 90s brows, because I think that they look really cute, especially because I accidentally cut baby bangs. When I was trying to trim my bangs, I cut them too short. But I actually think it looks really good. So I'm gonna go in with the Urban Decay Slick Day Brow. And it's just a clear, like, little brow pomade. Oh, but so I skipped a Ouija story that I will go back to. Before any of that, we were at my boyfriend's grandparents' house, which I'd never felt anything strange in there, and they were very skeptical. My boyfriend was very skeptical, although I did hear him on the phone one time telling his friend that just weird stuff happened around me that he couldn't explain, which felt like weirdly validating. So we were at his grandparents' house. We used to have viewing parties for American Horror Story Freak Show when it would come on. So we would have all of our friends over and watch American Horror Story, and this was in October, and he had actually, for Christmas, he had actually gifted me the fabric Ouija board that I became my primary one that I used. So that had been like a gift, and he had given me a planchette from his job, from like the carriage house at his job. So I mean, spooky, ooky spooky things. And we decided to do a session this night. And one of the big rules of playing with Ouija boards is that you never do it alone, because bad entities and malevolent spirits are going to prey on whoever is psychologically weakest to get whatever they want. So if you're by yourself, by default, you are psychologically weakest, and you're going to be targeted, and you're not going to have anybody to kind of protect you or pull you out. So you never do it by yourself. We're doing this session. It's about 6 or 7 of us. And immediately, one of our friends recognizes who we're talking to, because she's had a bunch of paranormal experiences in her life, and she always said that she had a little boy spirit that followed her around, named Will. And so we're asking questions, and she asks, my spooky friend and I would kind of lead the sessions, but like if anybody wanted to ask a question, like as long as it was like respectful, they could. So this friend asks for the entity's name, and it says Will. And so we're like, okay, we should let her kind of take the lead if this is something that she's familiar with, because maybe we'll get we'll get some more answers if Will is talking to her. And so she's asking questions that she knows the answer to try to, like, you know, to make sure that this is what we're talking to. And whatever we're talking to starts kind of dodging the question. Like, she asked, "How old are you?" And she knows that Will is 8 years old from other times that she has talked to Will. And the planchette goes to a blank space on the board. So it's avoiding questions. This happens several times, and me and my other friend kind of start recognizing this as, okay, we need to end this because you're not talking to Will. And at the time, this friend who had Will attached to her was going through a really hard spot. So I would say she was the most vulnerable out of any of us. So it became pretty clear to me that whatever this was targeting her. So we end the session, and for the next 2 hours, she is adamant about getting back into it and restarting the session. And I'm like, no, I don't think that that's a good idea. Also, this is my Ouija board that I have to take home, and whatever that was, I don't want it there. So we're all very much like, no, we're not doing this. And she is like, well, then I'm gonna do it by myself. And I was fully like, not with my board, because she was determined to talk to this thing, even if it meant doing it by herself, which she knew was a no-no. So whatever we were talking to was trying to get at her for some reason. And that one always freaked me out, because I had never seen her like that before, where she was so adamant about doing a Ouija session by herself when she knows that that's not a good thing to do. For my eyebrows, I literally just use an e.l.f. Liquid eyeliner, because I feel like I have the most control with this. So it's just the e.l.f. liquid liner in jet black, and it's the same one I'm gonna use for my eyeliner later. I know I have more Ouija stories than that, but I can't really think of any at the moment. So like I said earlier, I have always I've seen a lot of weird things in this house in particular, and I started to kind of wonder why, because I take great care to make sure that my space is cleansed, my house is cleansed, that there's nothing should be coming in here, but things do sometimes. And it's just kind of boop, somebody new will enter the chat and I'll just kind of clock another energy, or something very strange is happening. So all of these next things are kind of experiences that have happened in this house. To do my fake freckles and sort of I do some shading around my eyes, I use the Flower Nose Swan Ballet palette, and it's this little brown shade right here. This is the Pink Swan palette. So I go in with this and I kind of define my lower eyelid, and I used that same white highlight that I used on my nose to highlight the lower eyelid. So I just kind of do that, and then I will go in with a fluffy brush and that same color and kind of blend that down. And it kind of creates a little, it makes my eyes look a little bit sunken in and a little bit tired, because I don't know why I find that attractive. And then I'm going to take that same brown and just kind of drag it out from my upper lash line, and I take it into the crease just a little bit, just to kind of define the outer edge of my eyes. Several years ago, I lost a very dear friend, and I had kept the like pamphlet from her funeral, and her favorite flowers are sunflowers. So I had these like fake sunflowers in a vase, and I kept her little funeral program right next to it. And the way my room is set up, it was sort of over in this back corner over here. I was putting some things away in my dresser up here. And I've always kind of heard, you know, when you like hear your name being like whispered or something and nobody has said your name, and it's just kind of like, oh, well, I must have just like misheard it. I've kind of always done that my whole life, which they also say could be a sign of schizophrenia, which is mildly concerning. My full name is Jamelyn. Very few people call me Jamelyn, but she was one of the people who called me that. And so I'm putting some things away in this dresser, and not only do I hear Jamelyn right behind me, I feel breath on my neck. Like somebody was standing right behind me and whispered my name right next to me. I feel like the hairs on the back of my neck like move, like air. And I freeze. And of course I turn around and nobody is there. But as I was thinking about it, because I didn't feel like I was in danger, but it did, I mean, it startled me. It was scary. And then I thought about it, and I was facing directly away from where her little like area in my room was. So I definitely think that that was her. All through my life, there have been weird things in this house. Like things would move, things disappear. One time I heard a huge noise in my room, and everything on this dresser kind of and I used to be very scared of this room in particular. This was not always my room because I was terrified of this room. Then when I started kind of learning about how to like protect yourself from spiritual energy and that sort of thing, I sort of reclaimed this space. And it became like, after it became my bedroom, I reclaimed this space. Because this was my bedroom when I was maybe like 11 or 12. And I slept with my mom in her room because I hated this room that much. And nothing had ever happened to me in this room, but I just hated it. It scared the shit out of me. So I slept with my mom in her room. And then I sort of started learning how to protect yourself from spiritual energy. And I decided that I was going to be the scariest thing in this room. And I sort of reclaimed my space. There's always been weird things in this house. Now I'm going in with a little brush like this, and I'm just gonna do some fake freckles. I do some of my fake freckles in the shape of hearts because I think it's really cute. Things in here are usually like stuff like that, or like the thing, or like my grandmother. I can tell that they're not going to try to hurt me. But there was one night, and this was when my boyfriend at the time was actually living here. We were both living here with my mom. And my bathroom is out my bedroom door and to the left. So I was in bed and he was in the bathroom brushing his teeth, and he left our bedroom door open. So I could perfectly, like, I can see into the hallway, and the bathroom door is to the right, or to the left. And I'm just on my phone, like not doing anything. But all of a sudden, I see and hear and feel, like I see something run from like the bathroom down the hall. My house has a huge long hallway. And not only do I see this thing run, but I hear the pounding like footsteps down the hall. And to this day, I cannot stand the sound of running. And if I hear it in like a scary movie, like, oh, it makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. And I could feel the floor like vibrating, like it was booking it down the hallway. And I just froze. Because whatever that was, and a shadow just, I know it was like a bird or something, but a shadow just went by my window and it scared me. because whatever this was, I was like, this is not good. And so I froze, and like I'm feeling like sick. And my boyfriend comes in and he's like, what? Why do you look like that? And I was like, okay, this is gonna sound crazy, but I need you to go check the house because somebody is in here. And of course he checks the house and nobody is there. So I started like trying to figure out, because like I do like cleansings of the house whenever I feel like I need to, which I haven't done it in a long time. I haven't felt the need to, but why are all of my heart freckles coming out like poopy today? And I'm actually gonna take these two eyeshadows, this like darker pink right here, and just sort of tap it over the freckles that I've made on the apples of my cheeks. Just sort of blends them, makes them less like harsh, and sets them. And then I'm gonna take this lighter pink shade that is a similar shade to my Huda Beauty powder and do the same thing to the ones like around my nose. I don't know if you can see that, but I think it's pretty cute. So I started trying to figure out why things were popping into my house. I was like, things shouldn't be popping into my house. Like, they know that they're not welcome here, except for like my grandma, family, friends, that sort of thing. But any like malevolent or like spirits we don't know, not allowed in this space. So I started trying to figure out why they were coming in here. And I thought about it for several days and could not think of anything. And then as I was leaving for work one day, I like grabbed my keys and I just turned to look at the wall, like in our like little entrance hallway, our little foyer, if you will. And I noticed that there were two mirrors directly opposite each other, which, if you know anything about the paranormal, is worse than a Ouija board. That is the worst thing you can do, is have two mirrors facing each other. Because it creates a portal. And spirits can just boop, pop in whenever they want. And I was like, immediately, I was like, oh no. Like, that's not good. And to this day, it is still in my house. I haven't messed with the spirit realm in quite a while. So, nothing has happened. I'm gonna knock on wood real quick. But yeah, to this day, there is still a portal right in front of our front door, like the entrance to our house. Like, we're basically just like, come on in. But yeah, so that is really scary. I'm going to do my eyeliner and end this video on, there's so much cat hair in my makeup and it's tickling me. I'm going to do my eyeliner while I tell you the last story. I have other stories and stuff, but they're more like family stories, so I'm gonna keep some of those to me. But this last story is a bit more uplifting, so I thought I would end on that note while I finish up my makeup. It's sort of like, you know, at slumber parties when you would watch a scary movie and then you'd be like, okay, can we like watch SpongeBob or something so that we can go to sleep? So I used to be a camp counselor at an art museum in my area, and we would do children's camps and we would do like teen camps, and this was like the sort of like the preteen camp. It was like 12 and like 13-year-olds. And oh, I almost forgot to put glitter on. That would have been tragic. I'm taking this glitter from that same Swan Ballet palette and I'm just packing it right in the middle of where I've sort of made this, like where I've sort of like bookended my eyes with the brown eyeshadow. And I'm just taking this pink, really pretty like pinky glitter. I don't know if you can see that really at all. And I'm just packing it right in the middle, creating sort of like a halo eye. There was a camper that was coming that had just recently, trigger warning for parent death, by the way. He'd recently lost his mom. And none of the other campers knew about it. It was just like the camp counselors and like the teacher, like all of the adults running the camp. And we hadn't been sure that he was going to be able to come because, you know, he just lost his mom. But I know I said this was a more uplifting story, and I know it doesn't seem like that right now, but just bear with me. But he was so excited about camp that he showed up, and we were all really proud of him for doing that. And he knew that we knew about his mom, but he also knew that we hadn't told any of the other kids or anything, so it was really only us that knew. And during lunch one day, I went into the bookshop. A few of the campers asked if I would take them into the bookshop, like gift shop area. And so we did. Like when we were done with our lunch, we went and checked out the gift shop. And I noticed that they had a set of tarot cards. And I love tarot cards. I have multiple decks of tarot cards. But these cards were all like Greek gods and goddesses. And like I said earlier, my sort of like main goddess that I look to, my eyeliner is completely uneven, is Aphrodite. So I had to get this tarot deck. So I get it, and the camper who lost his mom asked if I would do a reading for him. He was like, "Oh, I think tarot cards are so cool. Like, will you do a reading for me and show me how you do it?" And so I was like, "Yeah, that's no problem." And so all the kids kind of like gather around, and they're all like asking me like, do me next. But so I start with him. So the first card he pulled was Hestia, who sort of represents like the inner fire, is sort of like her main symbol is like the hearth of the home, because she's sort of the heart of the family. So at first I was thinking like, oh, that's really sweet, like he could take that in a way that like it's like the card talks about like not letting your inner fire dim, and I was like, that's really sweet, like that's a really good card for him to pull because he's going through this really hard time. Before I keep telling this story, let me just let you know what I'm doing real quick. So after I make my wings, I take this eyeliner and I make a few dots along the lower lash line, and then I'm just going to take this little angled brush, and I'm literally going to blend out the liquid liner, which I know I saw a video with Brittany Broski and Trixie Mattel once where like Trixie makes a joke about Brittany saying she's going to blend out the liquid eyeliner, but it works. So I just kind of take the angled brush and just kind of move that pigment around, and then I'll go back in and fix where I've kind of blended the wing out. So it just kind of creates a little lower line there. But so yeah, so I'm looking at that card and I'm like, oh, he could take that in a really like positive way. Then I pull his second card, and it is Gaia. And Gaia is literally the mother goddess. She's like Mother Earth. And so at that point, I'm kind of like, oh. And he and I kind of look at each other, and we're kind of like, oh. And none of the other students know what's going on. Like, so we just kind of, we look at each other and we kind of like nod. Like we're like, you're Like, you're understanding what's happening here too, right? But we just kind of keep going to not, you know, not clue everyone in on what's going on. This is like, in that moment, we're like, okay, you and I are like locked in. We know what's happening. And then I pull his third card. And his third card is the water nymphs. And the story of the water nymphs goes, if I'm not mistaken, it goes something like, the water nymphs fall in love with a man, a mortal man. And they want to be with him so badly that they pull him down underwater to be with them, and he drowns. So the card talks about feeling your feelings, but not letting yourself drown in them. And at that point, like, I'm trying so hard not to cry in front of these other kids, because I'm like, his mom is talking to him through these cards. Like, there was literally no other explanation for that. And I still, to this day, every time I do a reading with that deck, I think about that, because that was so crazy. And he, like, I could tell by looking at him, he absolutely was like, that, like, I just talked to my mom. And he gave me a hug afterwards and told me thank you. And it just, like, that was a really, like, special moment to me, and I was really glad that I could do that for him, that I could kind of provide that method for his mom to get in touch with him, because I truly believe that I don't think that there's another explanation for that. I think that would be a pretty insane coincidence, and I could tell that he felt very validated by having that reading done. And I thought that was really, really sweet, and, you know, not necessarily like a typical paranormal experience, but definitely something otherworldly. And I thought it would be a fun little story to end this video on, since it's kind of sweet and not quite so spooky. And I am almost finished with my makeup, so this worked out pretty perfectly. So right now I'm just kind of like fixing parts of my eyeliner. I did go ahead and go in and do a little inner corner and some little lashes on the outside, just like 2 of them, because what I'm gonna do now is go in with some mascara. I use the Cream Shop Hello Kitty mascara because it's Hello Kitty, but you can use any mascara. I'm gonna put on fake lashes anyway, so it literally doesn't matter. But I just go in and coat my top lashes so that they are black and will blend better with my falsies. Okay, so I'm just taking the mascara wand and making little like spikes on my lower lashes. So I just kind of coat everything in mascara and then kind of push lashes together until it makes a little triangle shape that I am happy with. And then once it's a shape that I like, I just go back over it with the mascara and darken it up. Okay, so for my lashes, I use 2 different kinds of lashes. I kind of alternate them depending on how I want my eyes to look that day. These are like sort of like an anime lash, so they're really like spiky, but still like a fairly natural look. I have freckles in the shape of hearts on my face, so natural is not really something I'm concerned with. I also have these that are like longer at the end and kind of like, so when I'm doing like an office siren look, or I just want like my eyes to like lift, when I want them to look a little bit more sultry, I wear these. But I think today we're gonna go for the spiky anime lash. And then I just take eyelash glue that has the little wand on it, and you're gonna coat the band in the eyelash glue, and then you're gonna let it sit until the glue gets tacky. And while I do that, I'm going to add a fake piercing, because on TikTok I've gotten some comments before, people asking how I do my fake piercings. So here's what you're gonna do. I'm gonna give myself a little eyebrow piercing, I think. So I'm just gonna take my eyelash glue and make a little dot where I want each little piece to go. Then I'm gonna take this, it's a little pencil for picking up rhinestones. And I'm gonna take, I have these silver little rounded beads. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm just gonna put them right on to the glue spots. And it literally looks like a piercing. Like, I want to get like my nostrils done and so much stuff, but at the same time I'm like, I can just do this. I do want my nostrils done really badly though, but for the eyebrow piercings, I mean, you can't tell. So unless you just really want the eyebrow piercing, you can just fake it if you want. Nothing is real and nothing means anything. But while my eyelashes finish, like while the glue finishes getting tacky, I'm gonna do my lips. So I'm gonna go in, I'm not gonna show you the packaging because it looks gross because my eyelash glue spilled. But I have this little like lip scrub that I'm gonna go in with to just exfoliate a little bit. Then I'm gonna go in with some chapstick. My friend left this in my purse and I'm using it. Sorry, MJ, I love you so much. And now it is like we have kissed. I will give this back to you if you want me to though. But I hope you don't because I really like it. And then I'm gonna go in, I'm not gonna show you the packaging because it looks disgusting. But it's the Wet n Wild Mega Last Liquid Catsuit in the shade Toffee Talk. It's my favorite lipstick. I wear this lipstick every day. Unless I'm wearing like a red lip or black lipstick. This is what I wear every single day. And I am gonna overline my top lip because I don't care what any of you bitches say, you can never convince me that it looks bad. And I've seen the videos where they show like overlined lips from the side. And you know what? Still don't care. Because your girl does not have money for lip injections right now. So everyone can just kind of suck my wiggly dick, bro. But so yeah, I just kind of overline the the Cupid's bow area because I am still in love with the kind of 2020 rounded lip, like the Kim Possible lip. And then I'm just gonna kind of tap the pigment around, but still leaving that area the darkest. And by now, our lashes should be dry and ready to apply. Dr. Seuss is quaking, shaking in his little pantaloons. So the glue is tacky now, so I'm just going to, I attach the inner corner first and then just kind of pull and attach the outer corner. Wow. So inner corner, pull, and outer corner. And you can go back over your lashes with mascara if you want to. I'm not going to do that, but you can, just to make sure that they stay. I don't really ever have an issue with these peeling up or anything, but that's the mug. I'm gonna take this roller out of my hair and show you the finished look. Well, okay, so this is the finished look. There is a hair stabbing me just directly at my eyeball. Okay. I think it's really cute. I really think that this makeup style and the sort of like baby bang and 90s bitch brow moment that I have going on is honestly the best look that I've ever had. I think that it's really flattering to my face. The makeup style is a little bit Duyan? Is that how you say it? I don't know. If that's not how you say it, I'm really sorry. It's a little bit Tim Burton. It's just, I think that it's perfect. My only goal in life is to look like a spooky haunted doll. And I really think that this is giving that. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today and listening to my ooky spooky stories. If you would like to see more of the fun stuff that I have coming up in the future, then you can subscribe. And if you'd like to see some of my past stuff I've done, you can do that as well. All of those videos are a couple years old, so things have changed a little bit. Yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. If you have any spooky stories, please leave them in the comments because I would love to read them. And yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful October and a wonderful rest of your day. Loving you so much. And nope, yep, that's it. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.